All right. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. I wanted to introduce our 3PL webinar series here today. My name is Janice, and I'm the Product Marketing Manager here at Avantiico. And the series will be hosted by Steve Stallings, who is the Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Specialist at Avantiico. So for today's session, this is the first session out of 4. And for today's session, we'll be starting with the pain points and gaps in ERP software in the 3PL industry. And then we'll jump into the solution by Avantiico and how its features solve for these pain points. The first feature that we'll go over is contracts and how to easily define and manage contract terms for all of your customers within Microsoft Dynamics 365. Then we'll go over billable activities and how to accurately invoice your customers for value-added services, as well as other billing activities and charges that may have not been billed previously. Then we'll go over sales orders and invoices and how to automate these to reduce manual tasks, as well as go over the customer portal to enhance customer service, client communications, and insights. Then the last feature that we'll walk over is analytics and reporting and how to track your spending, identify discrepancies, and resolve issues quickly with predefined reports and real-time data in Power BI. And really quickly for everyone on the call here, I did want to let you know that we're hosting 2 half-day in-person events, both focused on Microsoft Dynamics 365 Supply Chain Management. They'll be hosted in Southern California on June 12th and June 13th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Pacific time. We are also hosting additional webinars for this series. The first session is today, and the next session will be May 30th, which will be focused on warehouse management and freight reconciliation. Then on the third session on June 20th, we'll go over complex pricing for value-added services. And then in the last session, we'll do a deep dive into the 3PL customer portal. We also do have a webinar series that's focused on our multi-company finance automation software, and the first will be on May 23rd, and it'll be focused on streamlining journals as well as third-party integrations. And the session after that will be on July 11th and focus on eliminating manual work by automating reporting. And now I will pass it on to Steve.
Good morning or afternoon, depending on where you're dialing in from. We're going to spend a little bit of time today defining why we built this solution for the 3PL industry, and then we'll jump into what the solution is. And today's session is intentionally an overview. We'll dig a lot deeper into it in subsequent sessions. But to take a look at where the industry is today, most 3PL customers spend an inordinate amount of time on spreadsheets and manual effort to define the value-added services that they provide to their clients and convert those into invoices so they can be they can bill for and collect for those services. Our focus, because of our first few clients in this industry, was to streamline that billing and invoicing process and automate as much of it as possible to eliminate that manual labor and those delays. The other thing that we realized is that not all of our clients were going to be on the Dynamics Warehouse Management System. So there was a across the board lack of integration with the systems that clients were using to pull in those value-added services and define them as billable activities to put on those invoices. So we provided a seamless integration method across warehouse management systems and other business solutions to capture all those billable activities and automate that billing process. And then finally, we wanted to maintain a high level of customer support and service for those 3PL customers. So to do that, we provided a portal that allows them to communicate effectively with their clients and provide that invoicing billing information to them in a way that enhances payment or accelerates payments, reducing sales outstanding and cash flow requirements, as well as disputed invoices. So those were the key industry challenges that we addressed. Of course, there's a whole lot more to the 3PL industry. As we get into the solution, you'll see many other features that we've addressed as well, but this was the impetus for our solution. Go ahead, Janice. Okay, so if we look at the key things we're going to focus on today, the automated billing process, that supports the increased billing frequency, which improves cash flow and reduces the day sales outstanding and disputes. Reduction in manual errors, a huge area of improvement because of all the tens of thousands to millions of transactions that our 3PL clients have to deal with. Identifying new revenue streams. As we've rolled out this product, we've introduced our clients to new revenue streams that they never thought possible, and saved them millions of dollars in the process. And I'll go through a couple of examples as we get into the details. And then our warehouse agnostic solution allows clients to quickly adopt this. And it doesn't matter what warehouse management system they're running on, whether it's the Dynamics warehouse management system or any number of others that 3PL companies typically use. Go ahead. So the way we've deployed this product is it is in the Microsoft App Source. It is an ISV product that literally bolts onto your core Dynamics 365 ERP system. It sits primarily within the finance area, and it completely automates the AR process within your finance application. So for 3PL billing clients, it uses the same database, it uses the same forms, it uses all the same business processes, but it augments those with the new features that we've added while operating within your Dynamics environment. And it can work with the Dynamics warehouse management solution or any other warehouse management solutions that you happen to be using. And it's ideal for situations where you want to get up and running quickly and then gradually convert your warehouses over time. Okay. All right, so these are the building blocks on which we built the system, and I'm going to go through these in the demonstration pretty much in this order. First, we're going to start out with contracts, which is how you define the agreement between you and the people that keep their inventory in your 3PL warehouse based on the value-added services that you're going to provide and what you're going to charge for those services. Those are defined as billable activities in our solution, and those are the things that end up in the invoicing process. Um, we're going to spend a little bit of time on how all those transactions occur in the physical environment for fulfillment orders and for warehouse management, regardless of the warehouse system today, so that you can understand how we capture and track all these billable activities. We'll spend a whole lot more time on warehousing in the next session in May. Then we'll get into the 3PL invoicing process and how we've automated that. And then finally, we'll jump out to customer portals for providing that information to clients in a consumable way, whether they are high tech or not. And then finally, reporting and analytics on your 3PL business process so that you can manage the process effectively. Okay, with that, let's jump into a couple more slides here and then we'll go into the live system. So this is the process we're defining for data coming into our automated billing engine. On the left, you see data coming in from either the Dynamics warehouse or third-party warehouses. In the case of the Dynamics warehouse, it comes in through our API in real time. In the case of external warehouses, it's near real time. You can set up these batch jobs to run every minute, every 10 minutes, every half hour, however often you want to pull this data in. And the key to the way we automate the AR process and keep it simple is all of these billable activities come in as unassigned. Then based on the client contract, we determine which ones are billed at which rates to which of your clients, and they automatically go on to billable sales orders. If they fail any edits in that process, they get dumped down to the bottom row you see there as billable activity error logs. That's the only manual intervention we want your people to have in the AR process. As errors occur, they have to be manually corrected and put back into the unassigned category so they can automatically be assigned without error. The rest of the process should be fully automated, which allows you more frequent billing cycles and better control of your sales and billing process. From there, they go into the billable sales orders, which automatically get converted to billable invoices. And at that point, you can automatically send them out to clients, or you could stop them for review and approval before sending, your choice. So that's the essence of our process that we're going to go through today. Next slide. This is the environment we operate in. So on the left, you have your 3PL clients. In the large gray rectangle, you have your warehouse management system, regardless of what it is. And there are multiple processes coming out of that warehouse system. One is fulfillment orders, which can be in Dynamics or not. Those are the orders that you process on behalf of your clients to receive their goods, to stock their goods, to kit their goods, to pack and ship their goods, those don't have an invoice. They are simply fulfillment shipment orders. The black rows below that, though, are the billing process, and there's no shipping involved here. It's simply invoicing of the services that you're providing. So all those billable activities that we captured recommend or represent the services you're providing, and those go out through the invoicing and the portal process based on the contracts. Next slide, please. Given that this is the minimum footprint we need within Dynamics, our system can live completely within the AR module and pull data from product information management. And that's all we really need is a minimum footprint within Dynamics. But we can go a great deal farther than that. Next slide. We can include the fulfillment services within Dynamics as well. And finally, last slide in the series, we can include the warehouse management as well. So our footprint within Dynamics starts within the finance AR module and a little bit of data from the product information management. And from there, it can go all the way to the full finance and supply chain application if you desire that. Okay, with that, I think we're about ready to jump into the live demo. Next slide, please. Yes, we are. Okay, so I'm going to bring up the demonstration and share my screen then. Okay. And we're going to start with the Dynamics finance and supply chain. And I'll give you just a brief understanding of where we are. This is the typical landing page for a user when they log onto the system. Now, I'm a system administrator, so I have every one of the 50 or more tiles here that a user might see. Typical users see 1 to 4 of these tiles, depending on their roles. But these tiles are workspaces that represent the type of work that a user would do. So I'm going to jump down here to the billable activities workspace. And what you'll see here is a series of tiles that represent the work that the person in this role has to do today, and then some reports as well. So I've got one pending billable activity that's waiting to be assigned to an order. I've got 84 failed billable activities. That's my manual effort. I've got 11 open billable activity sales orders. I've got some contracts. I've got some assigned billable activities that have been automatically assigned to these 11 sales orders. And I've got a total of 251 billable activities in total out here. So I can take a look at any of this data. We're going to start with contracts first. Well, let's go a little bit farther back and let's start with products first, and then we'll go into contracts. So as I mentioned, our solution lives on top of the accounts receivable module, but it uses data from the product module. We're defining the services that you're going to provide. So as we give this a moment to open, I'm going to go down here and type in the word service and pick product type. And we're looking at the services that you're providing, not the products that you're storing on behalf of your clients. So if we look at freight as an example, that service item is defined as a billable activity. This form has been added to the item master. This is unique to our product. This is the only thing we've changed in the item master. So we've defined this as a billable activity. It's in the type transportation. It's a freight charge, and it will create freight bills. And then we have a upcharge on this, stating that we're going to charge our clients 20% more than we're billed on these freight bills to turn this from a cost center to a profit center. That's the only thing we need at the item master level to define these services. Everything else we do within the AR module. So I'm going to go back here to that workspace, and now we're going to take a look at contracts. Okay, so a contract is between the 3PL provider and their clients that store materials in their warehouse. And I'm going to use contract 41 as my primary example today, but we'll look at a couple of them. And a contract has a number of characteristics that make it very different from a typical price list in Dynamics 365. One of the key differences is that we have, by design, changed the onus of updating contracts from the 3PL provider to their clients. If you understand pricing tables within Dynamics, they have 2 dates, an effective start date and an expiration date. And anything that happens after the expiration date occurs at zero cost because there is no zero price, I should say, because there is no price beyond that expiration date. That would create tons of errors in a high-speed operation like 3PL environments, and you'd have to go back and manually correct all those prices, or you'd be billing your clients zero. We've changed the whole pricing rules by adding a number of additional dates here that include not only the expiration date, but an original expiration date followed by a renewal date, which you'll notice is 1 day later, an auto renewal period, and then an auto renewal cycle that can be set to run multiple times. So we could renew this contract every 2 years, every year, however often you want to do that. And that eliminates the need to have a work done after an expiration date that doesn't have a subsequent contract covering it. The other thing we've done here is we've defined the rules around those contract dates. So the 3PL client gets a contract price when their contract is effective, when it's open. If they suspend the contract due to a dispute, we go to a list price, which in this case is 6% higher. If the contract expired and it's going to be renewed, we stay at the contract price. But if it's lapsed, we again default to the list price, which is higher. So this puts the onus on the 3PL client to renew their contracts in a timely manner so they don't get hit with higher prices. If they decide to cancel their contract before its effective end date, we put them into an offboarding price, which is even higher than the list price. So we can control the prices that you're charging your clients based on the dates and statuses of a contract. We can also set automatic price increases. So here you see that we've got it's called a default rule, could be any rule you want to name it, that says we're going to change prices by 2% or the greater of 2% or the employment cost index every year. So even though these contracts, if you saw up here, run 2 years, we're going to change prices every year, not for necessarily everything, but based on a set of criteria that you'll predefine over here in the contract terms. And then finally, the last thing in our contract header is branding information. Many 3PL many companies that use 3PL providers want to make sure that the products go out from the 3PL provider branded as if they were shipped by the original manufacturer or the company that's the 3PL client. So here we have information about their addresses, their contacts, their logos that can be used on packing slips and other documents that would be sent out on their behalf to have their branded information. If the document requirements are more extensive than this, we also have additional tools for that we'll be talking about later. Okay, so let's get into the actual contract details. Contract can have a number of different charge types, and within these charge types, we can have a number of different billable activities or value-added services. So a one-time charge would typically be used to set up a new client. So we might have a $500 or $1,000 charge to initiate a new contract with the client, to add their initial inventory into our warehouse, to set up our EDI profiles with them, whatever it is we do. These are one-time charges that can be defined when needed. Recurring charges are set up on a monthly basis, typically, could be weekly, could be quarterly, but these recurring charges are a flat rate that is determined by a contract line that says that as a normal administration charge, we're going to be charging you X amount per month or whatever those terms are. When we get into minimum charges, they're based on other charges. So what we're saying here is we have a minimum charge that is $30,000 a month, okay, $35,000 a month if they're on list. And that charge is based on these 4 charges. The combination of shipping charges, receiving charges, storage charges, and warehouse operations charges will be totaled up. And if they end up at, let's say, 24,000 for the month, then we would charge an additional 6,000 in these minimum charges to bring the total up to 30,000. So these can be based on any other charge type or combination of charge types that you've got identified here. And of course, if those charge types exceed the minimum, this would be ignored on a regular basis. So these typically are monthly charges. Miscellaneous charges can be similar. They can be just about anything. And I'll show you some examples of those in a different contract. When we get into storage charges, these are what we call calculated charges rather than date-based charges. So storage charges are typically calculated based on either an average or a peak inventory. And the inventory snapshots can be made multiple times a day, once a week, however often you want to do that. The interval, again, in this case is weekly instead of monthly. So I'm going to bill weekly for these. And I'm going to bill based on a typical warehouse, could be depending on which warehouse this client keeps their goods in, and a quantity in cubic feet here. So this is storage space, not individual products. And we can base this on anything. This one happens to be based on average, but we've got, let's see, where there's my average calculation, but we can have this on average inventory over that period, peak inventory over that period, or aged inventory over that period. And if it's aged inventory over that period, then we'll define what the aging periods are. So maybe if it's inventory that's 0 to 30 days old, there's a rate for that inventory. But if it's 31 to 60 days old, there's a higher rate because the inventory is not moving, and we don't want to be sitting on aged inventory. If it's 61 to 90 days, it might be even a higher rate. So we can define the different inventory storage rates and fees based on peak, average, or age of inventory. If the client is using Dynamics Warehouse Management, then we'll use this category called Warehouse Operations. And I want to spend some time on this one for two reasons. One is to define how we integrate with the Dynamics Warehouse Management solution, and the other is to look at future rates. So what you see here in the green are the rates we're charging now. These are the active rates, and we have a kitting rate and a picking rate for work being done in the warehouse. And those are based on the sales type work orders in the warehouse, in the Dynamics warehouse. And there's a charge for those over here at the right based on the order for the, what was the first one here? The kitting rate, and based on the quantity for the picking rate. So these can be based on different criteria. They can have different rates, and of course, based on, in this case, weekly time periods. So this is our billing rates for current activities. What you see in yellow down here are those same rates for the next year, starting in August of this year. So these rates will become effective at the next iteration of pricing. So this is an example of where we've said pricing will increase by 2% this year over, or next year over this year. And we've predefined what categories of billable activities are included in that price increase. So in this case, our warehouse activities prices will go up when the new contract date of August 1st, 2024 arrives. Okay, so we've looked at warehouse operations. Let's look at typically receiving and shipping, cycle counting. These are things can be done in the any warehouse management system. So we'll grab shipping here, and you'll notice we have different rates for pack and ship, and there's 3 different rates here for ship. The reason is I have shipment in cases, shipment in boxes, and shipment in pallets. So I'm going to have different handling rates for those different units of measure, depending on what my costs are for handling that type of shipping. So here you can see the flexibility of our pricing matrix here. We can define as many different criteria for the value-added services you provide in as many units of measure, warehouse combinations, billing period combinations as you wish to define. And when we get into advanced pricing in the third webinar, I'll show you a great deal more that can be done with tiered pricing and other types of rate methods that we can employ for pricing as well. Okay, so we've looked at those. There's a very different one down here when we get into transportation. And I will spend a moment here on purchasing and materials before I go to transportation. Purchasing can come from the dynamic system or any other purchasing system. And this is the concept that we have to buy special material for a client. Maybe it's to pack their goods in. They want a special box for the holiday season, or they want a bundle that has 2 different products in a box that fits them in a very specific way. So if we have to go out and purchase materials on behalf of a client, we can charge those POs directly to the client, as well as the process of bundling and packing those materials when we use those products. If we're using our materials for those products, like slip sheets, pallets, shrink wrap, and other packing products, we can also define those as consumables that are billable to the client. Transportation's a little different. For transportation, we don't set a rate. You'll notice this also has a current rate and future rates, but that's not the point here. What we're looking at is here you'll see that the contract price for transportation is 0. Because if you remember when we looked at the transportation service item, we didn't put a price on it there. We said that we were going to have a 20% markup on the actual cost of transportation. So we don't set the price here in the contract. We take the product or the carrier's price that they quote us when they pick up the goods and give us a tracking number. So that tracking number includes a 2-day delivery rate or a 3-day rate or a ground rate of a certain amount. We'll take that contract price and then we'll add a 20% upcharge on that, and that will be what we charge our clients for transportation. Now, the reason we can do that is that typically the 3PL company is a much larger company than their clients, and they can contract, or they can negotiate much better contract rates with UPS and DHL and FedEx and others than their clients could. So if they can get a 30%, 35% better rate than their clients and then charge a 20% upcharge, both of them are still saving money. So in this case, it's the actual transportation costs plus an upcharge that gets put on the contract. Okay, so we've looked at contracts and we've looked at the billable categories here, but let's go back and take a look at the billable activities as they occur. So back here, we said that there were um, 166 total billable activities assigned to orders. These are those billable activities for picking, packing, shipping, heat shrinking, receiving, etc., that we're charging for. And then over here to the right are the details for that billable activity with all the information we need to process it. So these get automatically assigned to sales orders based on the billable activity type in the contract and the duration of the contract, weekly, monthly, etc. Okay, so if we look at unassigned billable activities, this is the one that's sitting out here in our queue right now, waiting to be assigned to a billable sales order. And if we look at the errors, then these are the only ones we want people to have to actually look at. These are the items that have something wrong with them that we're going to have to correct. And over here to the right, you'll notice that it's plain English descriptions of what needs to be done to fix it. In this case, we've got a 0 quantity. We go out here and we go into edit mode. We put in the quantity, correct that, and then it can go ahead and be processed. So that can be reprocessed back to a pending billable activity, and then it'll be picked up and automatically assigned to a sales order. So I keep talking about this automatic assignment to sales orders. Let's go look at one and show you what that's all about. At the beginning of each billing interval, let's take shipping, which was on a weekly billing interval. The system looks to see if there's a sales order for the customer whose contract we just received a billable activity for that already exists. If a sales order exists, the billable line will simply be added to it. If the sales order doesn't exist, then the system will create a new billable sales order for that customer for that period and add the billable activity to it. And then all subsequent billable activities will be added to that during that week or month that that sales order is open. So let's grab 1208 here as an example. So this billable sales order has been open for a period of time and a number of transactions have been charged against it. And what we're going to see on the sales order is a summary of the transactions charged against it. So we've had a number of different receiving fees, some freight charges, some shipping fees. And if we grab this individual line here and go to billable activity details, then we can see what was assigned to this sales order. So these are the freight charges that were actually assigned. And if we grab one of these and scroll down here, we can see the details of that freight charge, the waybill number or tracking number, the freight charge that was applied, all the information that is defined, as well as the fulfillment order that this corresponds to. So each time a new line gets assigned, whether it's a shipping line, receiving line, or whatever, it gets added to this billable activity list and it becomes part of this sales order. So at the summary level, we have the total charges for this sales order and its value. At the detail level, we've got all the billable activities that were charged. But keep in mind, for a typical 3PL client, they're dealing with tens of thousands of billable lines a day, maybe millions in a month. So as a result, they have a overwhelming amount of data that they have to process. And if they're doing this manually in Excel, it can take weeks to put together these sales orders, convert them to invoices, and get them out to their clients. And without having all this detail automatically accumulated for them, the possibility of errors and therefore delays and um, postponed payments are very high. So by automating this process, automatically creating the billable activities based on the contracts, automatically creating the sales orders and adding the billable activities to the sales orders, and then automatically converting the sales order to an invoice at the end of its duration, weekly, monthly, whatever it is, we've eliminated the potential for a lot of errors, and we've eliminated a lot of manual effort. One of our clients told us that we would essentially eliminate almost $1 million worth of um, AR effort per year on an ongoing basis, and that might even grow higher as their company grows. We also help them to eliminate an estimated 15 million in days sales outstanding in cash flow requirements by shortening the interval from the time billable activities occur until they can actually collect from their clients. So as a result, this is a huge value add for our clients. And this automation eliminates so much effort that really all the user is left with is dealing with those errors that might occur on a periodic basis. Okay, so we've looked at the billable activities, we've looked at contracts, we've looked at sales orders. Let me catch up on my notes here. Um, let's take a look at the portal. So as this information is presented to clients, it can go out a number of ways. This uh, invoice can be mailed to the client. It's typically not. It can be via EDI, which is typical of large companies, but many 3PL companies or many clients of 3PL companies are not large companies and they're not EDI capable. So they may also want to have access to that information via a portal where they can pull it down and look at it on their own. So we offer a portal. I've just logged onto our portal here. Of course, this is branded for the Dynamics, the Avantiico example. Your portal would look like you wanted it to look, and it would have your functions here across the top. But this is representative of our standard portal as we deliver it. Now, to say that, I don't know of any of them that have been actually implemented as delivered because clients usually request to add a lot more things to the portal. But this is the base as it comes delivered and can be built upon from here. So at the home level, we're at the beginning page of the portal, and we have multiple pages that clients can look at for the different levels of support that are offered, possibly videos, product overviews, services, frequently asked questions, etc. But from there, they can go into their company view and they can see their data online. Now, this can be simply their information about who in their company is allowed to use this portal. It can be their account balances. It could be other documents that are associated with their contract or other information. Under billing, they can take a look at their multiple company invoices. If they are a multi-company client, they can look at their individual transactions, their credit memo requests, customer service requests. They can actually create a new request for support. So they can go out here and create a customer service request. They can look at frequently asked questions and get answers to questions that we've shared online, and they can do a search. If we go back to viewing company information and I bring up balances, they can actually bring up their invoices, and let's grab this one here and go to the down arrow, go to view details, and they can see all those behind the invoice details that we showed you online. So all the information that was provided as background to a sales order or an invoice in this case is also provided online. So the idea here is that we're providing the client with a tool so they can get at their transactions quickly. They can review them, they can pay them, they can see outstanding balances on them. They can look at customer service requests where they have questions that they need to have answered, etc. The kinds of things that have been added to this portal is some of our clients have requested that we add under the company view banking information so that we can facilitate ACH transactions from their company to ours for payment. We've got requests for inventory visibility and other things that clients have requested in their portals as well. So the portal allows small companies to have access to all this data in a rapid way and get down to the level of detail that they need, download these transactions to their current environments so that they can go ahead and pay us in a timely manner. Okay, so finally, the way I want to wrap up this webinar is with reporting. We've developed some Power BI reporting that allows 3PL clients to evaluate where their spend is, where their revenue is, and take a look at where they should be spending their limited resources on improving their internal processes. So this is a view of revenue by type of billable activity or value-added service and warehouse. So in this case, we're saying that UPS Ground is the most valuable thing that we're doing right now because that's where we're generating $1.55 million in revenue over this time period. And by the way, these graphs are all manipulated by simply using slider bars and other tools. So we can change the data at a moment's notice and look at this data very differently. We can see that they're spending a lot of money on USPS as well. Okay, $2.8 million over this time frame that I've now looked at here. We can then look at this by individual warehouse and see how little one warehouse is spending, but taking a different example, how much another warehouse is costing them or spending. So we can take a look at where our volumes are and where our investment should be in improvements and operational changes in those environments. We can also take a look at that same type of information by customer. And again, I can change the values over time. I can look at different customer sets based on ship warehouses that these customers ship out of and other information as well. I can look at services by period. So here I'm looking at it by months. I can collapse these and look at it by quarters, or I can collapse it further and look at it simply by years. So I've got different information available to me based on the way I want to review the data, as well as time periods again. So all of this information is dynamic depending on what I change on the form. This lets me look at quantity of services versus value of services. So my item handling for inbound products, that's putting away goods that have been received in my warehouse, is what I spend the most time by quantity on. And yet my priority mail is what I spend the most money on. So this can allow me to look at here's my item handling outbound, which doesn't generate a great deal of money at all. But you can see that item handling is a very high value over here. So quantity of services versus value of services allows me to match those things where I need additional resources or need to fine tune my warehouse operations. And then finally, services billed. This is similar to the first one, but without looking at the individual warehouses. We're simply looking at the individual services, who's using them and how much. So a lot of different types of analyses that we provide to our clients. And this, again, we teach you how to, we provide these Power BI examples, and we teach you how to build Power BI analyses so that you can extend your reporting requirements to whatever you need to run your business. Okay, well, I've spent about 45 minutes on this at this point. I'm going to turn this presentation back over to Janice. But before I do, I just want to say that what I hope to have conveyed today is that the approach we took with 3PL solutions here is to address one of the biggest needs in the industry, which is the volume of data that a 3PL client must process in order to get their billing done, and the automation of that data so that they can get it done efficiently, so they can get paid quickly, and so they can run a profitable business operation. So given that, I'll turn it back over to Janice.
I think we also did briefly want to cover this selected customer outcome slide as well.
Oh, yeah, let's go back to the PowerPoint for that. Sure. Okay. So let me minimize this so I can get back into that. Okay. So are you presenting that? Because I'm not seeing it.
Yes.
Where am I supposed to be here? Okay. Oh, there we go. Phew, sorry, I was on the wrong page. I apologize. So I mentioned a few of these things as I was going through the presentation. These represent savings that some of our clients have reported to us over time. I mentioned this one, the very first one, just a few minutes ago, and that is a first year savings of $15 million based on the ability to process invoices more frequently, and therefore decrease their day sales outstanding and their cash flow requirement by being able to collect from their clients on a faster basis. The second one, the full-time equivalent savings of AR people, by having all of this automated and only having to deal with errors and eliminate the need to have people manually going through spreadsheets and building invoices, is savings of almost $1 million a year, and that's going to increase over time. And that includes savings on month-end close and manual processing, and a lot of other compliance and reporting is included in that number. If you drop down a little bit, they also had an IT savings of $50,000 a year by eliminating a number of different software packages that they were doing this in previously, that were all consolidated into Dynamics Finance in our 3PL solution. And then finally, we helped them identify over $200,000 a year in new revenue streams for billable activities that they didn't realize they could be billing their clients for. Now, obviously, to gain those, they're going to have to renegotiate their contracts with their clients and add those new billable activity types in. But that gives them the opportunity to continue to grow their revenue over time with their existing clients. And as they add new clients, that'll grow even larger. To give you another example that's not on this page, we helped one of our clients that is a marketplace, kind of like an Amazon, where they not only ship on behalf of their clients, but they collect on behalf of their clients. We saved them $3.7 million a year by turning the credit card fees that they were paying as they collected on behalf of their clients into a billable revenue stream for them. So the value that we're offering here is millions of dollars in savings to our clients based on the automation of the billing process for 3PL.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So before we end here today, did just want to remind everyone really quickly that we are hosting 2 half-day free in-person events, both focused on Microsoft Dynamics 365 supply chain management. Both will be hosted in Southern California on June 12th and June 13th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Just let us know if you're interested in attending. And please try to join us for our next webinars as well. Our next session on 3PL will be on May 30th, and that'll be focused on WMS and freight reconciliation. And then the next session on June 20th will be focused on unlocking new revenue streams for complex pricing for value-added services. And the last session will be on July 25th and will be a deep dive into the customer portal. And then we'll also be hosting our webinar series on our finance automation software as well. And those sessions will be on May 23rd as well as July 11th.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.